Guys, we've got the major news, the huge Big Ten media deal that does not include ESPN. I'm going to give you guys the full breakdown. Where can we expect to watch Big Ten football starting in 2023? It's going to drastically change. And guys, this is breaking this morning. Big Ten rolls out multi-network $7 billion TV media rights deal. It's record-breaking. And it is massive, and you guys can see, it says the long-awaited Big Ten media rights deal is now official, and as anticipated, it is a revenue geyser, a 7-year agreement with multiple broadcast partners worth more than $7 billion, sources told SI. The backloaded deal, which begins in 2023, averages out for more than $1 billion annually. The agreement with Fox, CBS, and NBC comes with this caveat from a Big Ten source: we're not done expanding. Guys, I touched on this in my last video about the potential West Wing the Big Ten looks to add. And guys, when it comes to this contract and the way it's structured, we were already told last week they were putting stipulations in this contract to where if they expanded and added a team like a Notre Dame, like a Stanford, like a California, like a Washington, the TV deal would be opened and renegotiated. They have stipulations inside of their contract to potentially renegotiate it if a team is added and restructure it. So they're already thinking about expansion. So if you're wondering, why are they doing this deal right now when they're just going to add more teams? They've already thought of it. There's things they can do, and there's things they're already putting in these TV contracts to where if they expand the league, the contract will be looked at again based on, what teams get joined. Notre Dame, obviously, they would bring even more money to the Big Ten. In terms of the current deal, it resets the bar for what universities can make on their media rights. When USC and UCLA are added to the conference in 2024, the annual payout over the lifetime of the agreement could average in excess of $70 million per member, and that's really lowballing it. So guys, I saw somebody, this was back when the whole expansion thing broke about a month and a half ago. We had seen the ideal look at a potential mega deal with the Big Ten, and each team within the Big Ten is going to start earning over $100 million by 2026. So this number, $70 million, is extremely a lowball estimate on how much, but it also does say that windfall would not include additional conference distributions such as pooled bowl money and NCAA basketball tournament revenue. Starting in the 2023 athletic season, Big Ten sports will be available across 6 different platforms: Fox and its affiliates, FS1, and the Big Ten Network, CBS, which is winding down its long-standing partnership with the SEC, and NBC and its direct-to-consumer streaming arm, Peacock. So again, that's Notre Dame's deal right there with NBC and Peacock. Now the Big Ten takes it, and that makes me wonder, is that even more incentive for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten? I'm not saying it's going to happen. There have been hundreds and hundreds of Notre Dame fans that have told me, listen, Notre Dame's going to be an independent no matter what. I'm simply saying the money might be too much, but guys, now the Big Ten doesn't care if Notre Dame joins the conference or not. The Big Ten is expanding, and that was in my last video about the West Wing and how they want to balance the overall conference. The addition of traditional broadcast titans CBS and NBC allows the league to expand its Saturday football game menu from noon until nearly midnight Eastern, actually later. Because there's going to be, a few Pac-12 games that start at 10:30, and that's another reason why they want the West Wing. The Big Ten lineup will be Fox televising the league's A game at noon, so that's big noon, and there'll be more on that. because Fox is not going to get the number one overall pick for the biggest game every week. It's going to be rotating, and there's a tweet on that. I'll talk about it. CBS keeping the 3:30 window. So the SEC games on CBS at 3:30, those become the Big Ten games on CBS at 3:30. CBS is done with the SEC. And NBC broadcasting a primetime game that comes on the heels of Notre Dame home contests. Fox will coordinate a game draft with the Big Ten office each year. So that is the setup. We knew it was going to happen. And again, the hope for Fox is that the Big Ten does add this West Wing so then they could also get a 10:30 game. Because if there is a 10 o'clock window game, those Big Ten games will be on Fox, FS1, or Big Ten Network, one of those networks. You're not going to see a 10:30 at night game on NBC. You're not going to see a 10:30 at night game on CBS. And obviously, you're not going to see a 10:30 at night game on ESPN. That's the biggest one because we're so used to ESPN having these late night Pac-12 games, a Big Ten game that involves UCLA being at home and it starts at 10:30 Eastern. It's not going to be on ESPN. It's going to be on FS1 or Fox. So this is the total breakdown as it follows. Fox and FS1 will have 24 to 27 football games in 2023, then 30 to 32 games for each of the next 6 seasons. So Fox is getting an even bigger stranglehold on the Big Ten, moving from around 25 games to 30 games. It will also air 4 of the 7 Big Ten championship games during the contract. Fox and FS1 will broadcast 45 men's basketball games in 2023 and at least that money in the years after. The Big Ten Network will have 38 to 41 football games in 2023 and 2024 before increasing to a max of 50 games. The rest of the deal, it will have a minimum of 126 men's basketball games. So we know the Big Ten, in terms of how their network works, they never get any big games. I think the biggest game the Big Ten Network has gotten is maybe that Michigan-Indiana game where Indiana upset Michigan. Maybe that was on Big Ten Network, but the Big Ten Network normally gets like Ohio State versus Northwestern. Right now, as the current deal is structured, every Big Ten team has to play 2 games on the Big Ten Network. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't think it will because if they increase it to 50 games, I'm still guessing you're going to have to play 2 times on the Big Ten Network for that to go into effect. So I would expect that to stay the same. And they're increasing from around 40 live games to 50 live games. And again, a lot of those games the Big Ten Network has, guys, it's like Northwestern at Illinois. Those are the type of games it has. And then we have NBC will have 16 football games in 2023 and 14 to 15 thereafter. It will include 1 championship game. I think that's the 2026 Big Ten championship game. It will be on NBC exclusively. The network, guys, this is literally the NFL model. Do you guys know how the NFL rotates between Fox, NBC, and CBS in terms of its Super Bowls? This is so cool how it's literally the same thing. I just realized that. The network that made its Sunday night NFL broadcasts a staple of American football viewing and carved out a college niche with Notre Dame will apply its same production value to the Big Ten primetime window. Expect extensive cross-promotion between the NFL and Big Ten. So guys, this is huge, and I love the way NBC does it. If you guys don't follow the NFL, the most exclusive game of every week is not Monday Night Football. It's Sunday Night Football. The NBC runs a great production. This is awesome news. We're going to see Penn State on NBC. We're going to see Ohio State on NBC. And of course, Notre Dame. It seems like such a logical fit just to move to the Big Ten. Not saying it's going to happen, but it does make sense. Notre Dame would make more money. They'd bring more money to the Big Ten. Maybe they care about being an independent that much to where they don't care about the overall money, but it just seems like such a good fit. And then you've got Peacock, which won the direct-to-consumer part of deal, will have 8 football games per season, so the streaming service will have 8 football games For the length of the contract, it's also going to have 32 men's basketball games. So, guys, when it comes to what Peacock will have, personally, I'm fine with Peacock having like Northwestern at Indiana, games like that. I do not think Ohio State's going to appear on Peacock. I think there's got to be stipulations that say, Peacock, they're a streaming service, whatever, but you're not taking Ohio State games. Like, that's got to be one of the stipulations you would think that, especially now with NBC trying to get Ohio State games, Fox, Big Noon fighting for Big Ten games, and you've got the 3:30 window. The only concern is, for example, let's say Ohio State is playing a game versus Northwestern. Would Peacock try and snipe that? Let's hope not, but I think it's going to be lower tier games because you have the three other major networks all vying and all fighting for the top Big Ten game of the week. Peacock will have the lower end game, I would think, for its streaming, similar to BTN. And then CBS will air 7 football games during the 2023 season as it shares broadcast time with the SEC. Are they going to do it to where they show in 2023, because they still have their last year of agreement? We thought they could get out of that deal. It looks like no. If it's only 7 games, will we see SEC on CBS week 1, Big Ten on CBS week 2, SEC on CBS week, and it's like alternating? If they're doing 7 Big Ten games, and I would assume 8 SEC games? I'm just guessing. I don't know, because it says 7, and it's saying it's sharing broadcast time with its SEC commitment. And then it increases to 14 or 15 games, including 2 Big Ten title games. And they already do have a lot of college basketball Big Ten games. It seems like CBS has a Sunday afternoon Big Ten college basketball game every week. So that's going to continue to around 20 to 34 total games, it looks like. But either way, guys, that is an interesting factoid. In 2023, they're only going to have 7 Big Ten games because they still have that SEC commitment. And I wonder, is it going to be SEC on CBS one week and Big Ten on CBS the next week? I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm sure we could find out, but that is very interesting. And then so the Big Ten championship game, it's going to be a rotation very similar to how the Super Bowl rotates. So we have Fox in 2023. So this year in 2022, it's going to be Fox. 2023 is going to be Fox. CBS is taking 2024. Fox is taking 2025. NBC is taking 2026. Fox gets 2027. CBS gets 2028. And Fox gets 2029. And then when it comes to the money, a Big Ten source stressed that the substantial revenue increases over the current deal will arrive from years 3 to 7. And that's when we expect the deal to really kick up to around $100 million per year. And then this is a very interesting part of the article. Keep an eye on how the SEC will react. It is believed that one of the league's reasons for slow playing its decision on whether or not to add an extra college football game from 8 to 9 was that it was waiting to see what the Big Ten rights were worth. Could adding another layer of league play to the TV inventory be worth enough for the SEC to reopen its own rights agreement and seek more money? That remains to be seen. Yes, they have to at least go to 9 games. That has to happen. For today, the Big Ten schools are the ones counting their money and laughing all the way to the bank. So this is huge stuff. And again, guys, I would expect the SEC to end up adding that 9th conference game. It just makes too much sense in terms of revenue, especially if we get a 12-team playoff. And then here's another quote from a different article I found. Quote, the Big Ten is going to be on 3 major television networks from noon until 11 o'clock every Saturday. So, what if, UCLA has a 10 o'clock game? Wouldn't it be from noon till 1 a.m.? Because if they have a 10:30 game, that game is going to be on FS1 or Fox. And that is another reason why they're trying to do the expansion. But guys, overall, it is a $7 billion to $8 billion deal in total. The numbers that we heard from a few weeks ago or like a week and a half ago, those numbers turned out to be right. It's CBS paying around $350 million. It's NBC paying around $350 million. And then the important thing to note, one network will not control the first pick of games every week as CBS did in the SEC. There will be a draft that allows opportunities for each network to have the top game at various times. So in other words, the big noon game is not always going to be the best Big Ten game of the week, which, thank God, thank the Lord. Basically what this means, for an example, week 1, let's say Fox gets the number 1 pick. So the biggest game will go on Fox. The biggest game in the Big Ten will go on Fox. It'll be on at noon. Week 2, NBC gets the number 1 pick. So the biggest game of the Big Ten that week will be on NBC at 7:30. Week 3, CBS gets the number 1 pick. So the biggest Big Ten game of that week would be on CBS at 3:30. It's a rotation, very similar to the way ESPN and Fox do it with the Big Ten. Right now, obviously, ESPN's not going to be in bed with the Big Ten after 2022, but it's a rotation. Some weeks, ESPN gets the number 1 game in the Big Ten. Other weeks, it's on Big Noon. So it is a rotation. It's not Big Noon getting, the biggest game every single week. That is a very important fact to note on how this whole thing is going to be structured. But guys, that is the major stuff. It is official. The only time we will see Ohio State on ESPN will be in the college football playoff. The only time we will see Michigan on ESPN will be in the college football playoff. The only time we'll see any team in the Big Ten, including USC and UCLA now, will be as if they make the college football playoff, which is a really just weird thing to think about, but it is the truth starting in 2023. Guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.